Let me tell you something about GTA 6 that most people covering this game literally cannot tell you. Not because it's secret, not because it's buried in some leak thread, but because to understand it, you need to have been inside. I spent 14 years working in the gaming industry. I've been in the rooms where these decisions get made. I've watched studios succeed and fail. I've seen what it actually takes to ship a game, the compromises, the cuts, the crunch, the politics. And when I look at what Rockstar is building with GTA 6, I'm actually pretty darn amazed. I don't see what the average gaming channel sees. I see something that genuinely should not be possible. My name is Chris Melky, and before we go any further, I want to be upfront about who I am and why this channel exists, because it's different from pretty much everything else in the GTA 6 space. I'm not a kid with a capture card and a highlight reel. I spent 14 years working in the gaming industry, including time at Epic Games, Day One Studios, and Boss Key Productions. I've worked on Fortnite, Gears of War, Mech Assault, and Lawbreakers. Funny story, I actually interviewed at Rockstar in New York and at Rockstar Vancouver, who are the makers of the Max Payne series. I met Jan Colby and Rob Spaminato. Unfortunately, I can't remember who I met with at Rockstar Vancouver. It was that type of a day. So I've managed game productions. I know what a dev pipeline looks like from the inside. I know how long things take, why they break, and what it means when a studio does something that defies every industry standard. I recently retired, and when I thought about what I actually wanted to do with my time, well, the answer was pretty obvious. There is no game in history that is going to be as big as this game is so far. And there's no better time to talk about it than right now. So that's what this channel is. It's my insider's perspective on the biggest game ever made. Every week, no hype, no clickbait, just actually what I know and what it actually means. Here's what you need to understand about the gaming industry right now, because it makes GTA 6 look even more remarkable when you see it clearly. The last decade of AAA development has been, well, could we call it what it is honestly? It's been a slow dumpster fire. It's been a disaster. And I can say that as someone who has lived inside it. What you see as a player, the broken launches, the battle pass, launch pre hype, the launch service that is broken before you even get into it for 6 months, that stuff doesn't happen by accident. That is a result of a very specific set of business decisions made by people who are optimizing for quarterly earnings, not for the players sitting on the couch on launch day. Studios are terrified. They are genuinely terrified of scope and scope creep because scope costs money. Scope takes time, and time in a publicly traded company or one owned privately by investors is not one thing either board will give you willingly. So what happens? You ship small, you ship fast, you patch later, you sell the rest as DLC. I've watched this happen from the inside. I've sat in the meetings. I've sat where the spreadsheet and the budget went over the vision. And then there's Rockstar. Rockstar has operated for the last 13 years like a company that does not care about any of that. No investor calls promising release date, no drip feed of content to keep the community engaged, no roadmap, almost complete silence, broken by trailers that go so hard they literally rewrite the record books. The first GTA 6 trailer had over 90 million views in 24 hours. It's crazy. The most revealed trailer in YouTube history. Not just games, not just gaming. It was the most revealed over everything, movies included. As a producer, the person who has built and shipped productions for a living, I need you to understand what that silence by Rockstar actually means. Let me decode the 13-year development timeline for you very, very briefly, because this is where my background actually matters. So GTA 5 shipped in 2013. By most credible accounts, serious development on GTA 6 began around 2014, probably near the end of the year. Concept work probably took place well before 2014. We're now in 2026. So we're talking about a 13-year gap. And the internet treats this like a punchline. Yo, Rockstar took 13 years to develop this game. But here's what 13 years actually means. The average AAA open world games takes 4 to 6 years with a full studio. Red Dead Redemption 2, one of the most critically acclaimed games ever made, took roughly 8 years and cost an estimated $540 million to produce. GTA 6 has been in development for 13 years. That means they blew past finished, they went past polished, they kept going into a territory that most studios and publishers would never authorize. They built things that may never even make the final cut because some executive producer in a meeting decided it wasn't ready. Probably this was Sam Houser, since his brother Dan had left after he said that the games were taking too long. I know this because I've been in those rooms on a smaller scale. And even at a fraction of Rockstar's budget, the discipline required to keep building past good enough is almost impossible to maintain. Politics creep in, people leave, leadership changes, the pressure to ship becomes almost overwhelming. And Rockstar just sat there. They worked, and they didn't ship. As someone who has managed productions for over a decade, that is the most impressive thing about GTA 6. Not the graphics and not the map size, not the physics. It's the fact that someone somewhere in that company had the authority and the spine to say not yet for over 13 years. That tells me everything about what's waiting for us when this game finally ships. So what am I looking at when I watch the trailers? Not what you're looking at. You're watching the cinematics, you're watching the characters, you're watching Lucia and Jason and getting hyped about the story. I'm watching the systems. I'm watching the NPC behavior loops in the background of scenes that weren't supposed to be about NPCs. I'm watching the police response logic, the way officers approach a scene, whether they communicate, whether they flank. All that stuff is expensive to build and even more expensive to get right. I'm watching the water. That is one of the most important things about this game. I know that sounds insane, but water physics simulation at the level Rockstar is supposed to be running, the ocean currents, the river flow, the underwater behavior, that is some of the most technically brutal programming in real-time game development. There are leaks on X that say there are over 20 developers working on just that system. And the possible performance issues, yeah, that's another monster that will try any seasoned devs team's patience. The fact that it's in the trailer at all tells me that there are people at Rockstar who spent years on something that most players will swim through in 10 minutes and never think twice about it. That's the Rockstar philosophy. And from the inside, from someone who knows what it costs, it is genuinely radical. The last thing I'm watching is the system that controls the economy. The trailers are showing us duffel bags, robbery mechanics, money laundering. In GTA 5, the economy was basically fiction. Money was a score, not a system. What I'm seeing in GTA 6 suggests that they're building something that actually simulates consequence, where what you do financially shapes what's available to you, and that is a massive undertaking. And if they pulled it off, it changes what this game is. Look, I'm going to be straight with you. I spent 14 years building things for other people, projects, productions, pipelines, and I loved it. But I'm retired now, and for the first time in a long time, I get to build something for myself. This channel is that thing. I want to cover GTA 6 the way it deserves to be covered, not as another hype merchant, not as someone reading Reddit leaks into a microphone, but as someone who has context, real professional context for what Rockstar has actually pulled off here. I want to be the channel that when something gets announced or a trailer drops, you come here and say, okay, what does this actually mean? What is the real story here? That's what I'm building. If that sounds like something you want to see, subscribe, hit the bell, because I'm just getting started. And in the comments, I want to know one thing. What is a system or feature in GTA 6 that you are most watching? Not most excited about, just watching those trailers specifically for it. Let's see who's actually paying attention when they drop a new trailer. The next video is coming soon. I'll see you then.